Good morning, gentlemen. All right. I hope everybody had plenty of turkey last week. and we'll see if we're still in a turkey coma for today here. All right. Well, welcome to another Bloodhound workshop. So there is, there are two more workshops, I believe. And then we're going to take another holiday break, obviously for Christmas and New Year's. All right. So if you have Bloodhound questions, make sure you email those questions in to support, right? Or, as you're here already, get all those questions answered before we go into the Christmas and New Year's break once again. So, right. Let's see here. So there are, as usual this time of year, after the Black Friday sales, a bunch of new people in the room here. So before I get started with the first emailed in question here, so I do have a question that was emailed into support to get us started. And then after that, I'll take your guys' live questions in the Q&A window there. All right, so for all the new people, if you're not familiar with Zoom, in this workshop, I use the Q&A window there, and so the chat window should be disabled. All right, so put all your questions in the questions and answers window because obviously that's where questions go. So, all right, and then also let me ask, so for the new people in the room, would you like to hear the workshop introduction? All right, so the workshop introduction is, I'll explain what we do in these workshops and what we do not do in these workshops. Secondly, I'll explain how the recordings work, so that way if you ask a question, you'll know how soon you can get a copy of that recording. And then third topic here, I will, let me get the audio recording going. There we go. And third topic here is I'll mention the custom indicators that I can install into my machine. All right. So every once in a while I'll get a question about a custom indicator. So I'll explain which ones I can install into my machine here. So, and let's see. All right. So is it Leor? I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. I'm going to go with Leor here, or Lore. Maybe it's just Lore. All right. It says, yeah, I would like to hear Leor. Okay, thanks. All right, so let's jump through a quick workshop introduction here. All right, so these workshops here are for software training purposes only. Let me pull this up. Here we go. All right. So this webpage here, is all about these workshops here. So to get to this page here, just go to, obviously go to Shark Indicators and then go to support. And you can see it's the second one down on the menu there, training workshops. That'll take you here. And as this explains, this is for software training purposes. All right, so obviously today is the Bloodhound workshop on Thursdays. And then Blackbird questions are taken on Fridays. So Friday is dedicated towards Blackbird there. So, all right. If you have a Raven question, since Raven comes free with Bloodhound, I take Raven questions with in the Bloodhound workshop. Actually, Raven gets a pass. I'll answer Raven questions on both Blackbird workshops and Bloodhound. So yeah, it's an old go back before Blackbird even existed. So that's why kind of Blackbird or Raven gets a pass on both of these workshops here. So all right. So anyways, these workshops are for software training. We are not trading coaches, so we don't answer questions such as what's the best way to identify when the market is choppy, or what's the best stop loss distance I should be using. Those are all trading related questions that help, make you a better trader. And yeah, we leave those questions to the hundreds of trading coaches out there. So we are a software company, and we make the Bloodhound and the Blackbird software as an extension of NinjaTrader. So just as NinjaTrader does not provide trading advice, because they're a software company, we consider ourselves in that exact same scenario there. So, all right, moving on here. The recordings. So all of these workshops are recorded, and what you see on this workshops page here, so if you scroll down to the bottom, right, here's the recording section. There is a list of questions or topics, that were asked in these workshops here, and that's what makes up this list. Are customer questions asking, how do I build this in Bloodhound, right? Or similar, how do I set up, my stop losses and profit targets and money management rule, whatever it is for Blackbird. So, right. We do take the time to have a video editor go through and clean up these videos as best as possible, because these are all taken live, right? All these videos here are just live questions being answered in these workshops here. So we do try and clean them up, cut out any kind of dead air time, whatever, speed things up when necessary. So that does take time to do all that video editing. So it does take typically 2 weeks to maybe 2 months sometimes. Depends on how busy our video editor is. So, all right. So don't expect to be able to get a recording here immediately showing up on this list here. So actually looking at this, yeah, there actually, no, it looks like there's only probably a week missing here. So, let's see here. Oh, yeah, there is definitely a big gap here. So our video editor is still working on stuff there. So we do have a temporary solution here if you do want to watch one of these workshops here, which is, where is it? There we go. Actually, first, let me just mention. All right, so this link here will take you to our standard YouTube channel, right, where all of these videos are listed here. So I'll just open that up real quick. So you can see we have a nice little banner here, shark indicators. So hopefully you guys have probably been there already. But this is where, all the curated and edited videos show up here. Right, now we do have a secondary YouTube channel here. And there we go. And it's called Shark Indicators Raw. So this is where we can upload the raw recording so that if you do ask a question and you want to be able to watch it over the weekend, or as soon as possible, this is where you can watch it. So all of these videos here are the entire raw recording of that workshop. And again, this is a temporary holding place while our video editor is working on cutting out all the different questions and topics there. And then once our video editor is done cutting out all the pieces out of it, then it will be deleted off of this channel here. So this is just a temporary holding spot here. All right. So if you do ask a question in these workshops here, and you want to be able to watch that recording again, then to get a video uploaded here to the raw channel, you do need to email in. So email into support and just ask us, hey, can you upload the video? Can you upload the Bloodhound workshop or the Blackbird workshop, whichever one it is? Say, hey, can you upload that to the raw channel here? And we'll get that done for you. So, all right. So that's our temporary workaround to getting the recordings. And all right, last topic here, which is every once in a while, it's been quite some time, I'll get asked questions about using a custom indicator here with Bloodhound, or maybe Blackbird here. So just note, I will install freely available custom indicators, but I won't install paid for indicators. All right. So yeah, it just becomes really difficult for all the other customers if I start using paid for trial period indicators here, because remember when you open up a Bloodhound file here, yeah, actually I'll go ahead and start today's workshop file here. Here, I'm gonna hit save. We'll put in today's workshop date. There we go. Right, so all of these Bloodhound workshops, right, they do have a Bloodhound file that you can download from our website, and I'll get into that in a little bit here. But anyways, if these all contained proprietary paid-for indicators, it just becomes a pain for all the other customers to have to open these and deal with that. So, all right, so no proprietary paid-for indicators is the bottom line here. So let me show you some examples of places where you can get freely available indicators here. And oh, look at that. Nice. Looks like, yeah, NinjaTrader finally fixed his website here from taking so long. All right, so this is NinjaTrader's ecosystem page. This is their list of vendors, and you can sort, right, you can do a filter here, filter by indicator and free to use there, indicator, free to use, right? And then NinjaTrader will show you all the various vendors on here with freely available indicators here that you can download off their website. All right, so those are free to everybody. So I can install all those. The other place here is Ninja's user app share, which I think most people are familiar with, right? So obviously these are all free to download as well. There. The next place here is NexusFi. So we can see they have a downloads area here. Which, let's see, yeah, here we go. So I'm in the downloads page right now. So you can see they have a NinjaTrader section. We do have an account here, so we can download the NinjaTrader indicators from here. The one exception is no elite indicators. So we don't have an account to download the elite membership indicators, so you do have to have an elite membership. So those, yeah, we don't have access to those, right? But anything, yeah, that can be downloaded in the NinjaTrader standard section, I guess you'd call. All right, so that's one source of free indicators there. Although this I would call quote free, because you do have to have a membership in order to download stuff nowadays. But once you get that membership, there's no reoccurring cost, so you can download all you want there. All right. So, all right, next website here, same thing. LizardTrader has has a quote free indicator section here, right? So we can download all of these as well. So if we go to the free indicator section here, and then NinjaTrader 8, right? So again, they have a library membership here, which is again a one-time fee for that membership. So since it's only a one-time fee, these are also considered quote free indicators here, and then you can download all these indicators. So I have access to all these indicators here as well. So, all right. Let's see. All right, that should do it for the indicators there. Yeah. Now, let's see, back to, back to what I was mentioning earlier about, not wanting paid indicators, in these Bloodhound workshop files here. So I said I'd mention, right, you can download them here. So typically, I'm not sure why, but this should have the link to download the Bloodhound file here. But yeah, you can see here, right, there's a link to download the Bloodhound file right there. So yeah, right there, right there. So yeah, all right. So yeah, that's the reason why I don't want paid. I won't install paid indicators. Is it just becomes a real hassle for other people to open up these Bloodhound files here. So all right, I think that should do it for the workshop introduction there. And all right, so let me get ready here for the first emailed in question. Although first, I will take a look at the Q&A window here and see if there's any quick questions I can answer here. Let's see. All right, so Leora, sounds like your VWAP question is setting up a profit target and a stop loss. So those would be Blackbird related questions. So that could be addressed tomorrow, unless of course, what's standard deviation? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, those definitely look like they're setting up a take profit or profit target and stop loss there. All right. Yeah. So I can address those in tomorrow's Blackbird workshop there. And let's see, Seth. Yeah, it looks like he has a in-depth question. All right. So Seth, I always answer the emailed in questions first, and then I'll get to the live questions afterwards. So, all right. Let's see here. So, all right. So the first question here, a screenshot here was emailed in to help explain what the question is here. So I'm going to do my best to unpack it here. So as basically this occurs as price is moving up, right? So it's just the mechanics of price moving up here. Here, so as price is moving up, when there is a gap between the current bar, so we'll just have to pretend A is the current bar, right? So if there's a gap between the low of the current bar and the high of any of the previous, right? This would be the second previous bar, third, or fourth bar. So if there's a gap from the high from the low to the high, then a short signal will be generated there, right? So we can see there is a gap here shown, illustrated that with this line. There's also a gap, from this low, also going back to that high, so even if this high here was a little bit higher, let's say both of these bars had a double top high, right? Both highs were the same. Then this low price would be above this fourth bar back, that high, or sorry, this low, right? There's a gap between that low and that high. So that also would generate a short signal on this bar here, right? And then basically the vice versa is true here. So as the market heads down, right, as it's heading down, right, compare the high to the low, right? So obviously, since market's moving up, this high is not below, or there's no gap from that high to the lows there, right? So all the lows need to be above it. And you're not, and you're skipping the previous bar here. So kind of going back to, as the market's moving up here. So when you're comparing this low to the highs, you're not comparing that low to the next bar's high. You're always skipping the previous bar and going 2 bars back, or 3 bars back, or 4 bars back, right? So as price is moving down, right, we'd compare that high to the low, not of this bar, but this bar, that bar, right? And we can see that high, there's no gap between that high and those lows. Oh, here we go. So this bar, now we have a gap from the high to that low. And so we have that green line there kind of drawn to help illustrate that, right? So this bar here would produce a long signal based on that gap. And same here, we get to the next bar. So there's a gap here from this high to that low, and also from this high to that low and that low. So actually the second, third, and fourth bar back, that low is lower than those, I'm sorry, that high is lower than those previous lows. So that's what we're going to build here, is comparing, right? So here, let's go back, let's go to the right of the chart, right? So in Bloodhound, we're going to be comparing, right, this high and that, right, the current bar's low, to the previous bar's highs and lows here. So with that low, if we compare it, right, to that high, right, this high is higher than that low, so nothing. This high is higher than that low, but this low is higher than the fourth bar back. So this bar would generate a long signal here based on that gap. Okay. And then, yeah, we can obviously see, because market moved up a little bit, this high, is above, right? It's greater than all of these previous bar lows here. So there's no gap from the high to those lows. So, yeah, and that's essentially it there. So, all right, so I'm on a minute chart to help build this out. So, and all right, let's get Bloodhound open here. I'll stretch this out a little bit more here. Yeah, so we can see right off the bat, we do have a gap there. So we're going to generate a short signal here. All right. And just for good measure, there we go. I'll make it red. And and I'm going to find a long signal here. Yeah, there. All right. And right there, we'll have a long signal. All right. There. All right, so there we go. So we have, some working examples. And of course, as we build this out, we'll find that there's a lot more long and short signals here. So, so the point I was getting to is we're going to use the comparison solver to do all this, right? So the comparison solver there. All right. So the comparison solver essentially checks to see if input A is greater than or less than input B, right? Which is exactly what we're doing. So we're looking at, right? We're looking at that low, and we're seeing or checking, is this low greater than any of the previous bar's high price? right? And actually, yeah, that low is greater, right, than that high. It's greater than that high, and it's greater than that high. So it's going to be greater than the second, third, and fourth bar back here, right? And again, remember, we're skipping the previous bar, right? So that's what the comparison solver does. It'll check to see if something is above or below something else. All right, so input A is going to be the bar prices. So we're going to switch type to price, right? We're not using an indicator. Same thing with input B. Input B is going to be a bar price, right? And it's not an indicator. So we're going to switch this to price. There, stretch that down a little bit. Now, what bar prices are we using to generate a long signal? Right, so input A, that's going to be the current bar. So a short is using the low price. So, right, so we can go to the short here and set that to the low. And then for a long signal, right, we're using the opposite. So this will be the high price. Now, for input B, this is also the bar prices, right? So this input B, this will be the second bar back. So for a short here, right, we're comparing it to the high. So for a short, we're comparing it to the high. So that means for a long, it's going to be the opposite here. It'll be the low here, right? And again, so my little green line here, right, our previous bar back here, right, is the low price here. So there we have it. So for longs, right, we're comparing the high to the low, and then for shorts, the low to the high. Now, input B, right, that needs to be the second bar back here. So we need to take this look back period and increase it to 3. And there we go. So a look back period of 1 is the current bar, and 3 is the second bar back. So, and next, normally you're looking for input A to be greater than input B for a long. But in this case here, right, this is all kind of reversed here. So this time the low is actually greater than the high for a short. So we need to go into the comparison rules and flip everything. All right, so let's open up the comparison rules here. There we go. And so now, so for a long signal, we need to flip this to the reverse condition. And if we hit apply, and well, actually, we got to connect that up. Yep, there we go. If we connect that up, and there we have it. There is our short, right? Going from the current bar to the second bar back, right? Now this one comparison solver is only checking from the current bar to the second bar back. So here where I drew the line, we're not doing that check, right? So if we kind of skip back, right, this solver is taking the current bar and it's only going to the second bar back, this bar here. So it's not checking that one yet. So we haven't gotten that far. Right. There. All right. So let's name this solver here. Yeah, there we go. All right, so for a long signal, we're comparing the high price to the low price, right, of with the look back period of 3 there. So Yeah, so I just put 3 in a little bracket there. Right, so there's, yeah. So, whatever naming convention you want to come up with, definitely kind of come up with some kind of naming convention here when you're making these notes. That way, when you come back to this like a month later, you can read your naming convention and have, some kind of comprehension as to what you built. So now we're going to go to the third bar back, which is going to be a look back period of 4, right? So we're going to increment this to 4 here, and input B, we're going to increment the look back period to 4 here. So to do that, we're going to make a copy and then make a new one here by pasting the copy. There we go. I'll connect that one in and name this, and then increment that to 4. And there we have it, right? So now we have our long signal here because now we're comparing this high to the third bar back to that low. Right? And same thing here. This high going back to that low. So there we go. And this high going back to that low. And this high going back to that low. And that high going back to that low, right? So yeah, so we can see as price is moving down, right, it was generating a lot of gaps between the high and previous bar lows there. So, all right. And we need to do one more here. So that question that was emailed in wanted to look back to look back 3 different distances. Yeah. There. So just to give an example, right? So from the current bar, the question was, okay, we're going to look back to the second bar back, the third bar back, and the fourth bar back. All right. So that means we need one more solver here to look all the way back to the fourth bar. So let's paste another solver. There we go. And we'll rename it. And then we can go down and adjust the look back period here. And connect that in. And there we go. Yeah, as you might expect, the further back you look, right, the more long and short signals you might, be generating there. Now, all of these here, so normally when you're building something, normally you're using the AND node because you need this condition and this condition and that condition. But these are all independent conditions here in this case. So we're going to use the OR because it can be either, right? It could be either this bar to the second bar back, right? Or it could be, right, the current bar to the third bar back, right? Or it could be, right, our current bar to the fourth bar back. So there. All right, put them all together in an OR, and there's our signals. So this is pretty simple and fairly straightforward, to build. So there we have it. All right, so that was our first question here that was emailed in, and let's see, I need some kind of a name for this. All right, that should work. Good. Well, all right, let me see if there's any follow-up questions on this before I move on. Um, let's see here. Okay, no, it doesn't look like there's any follow-up questions. So, all right, so give me a moment here to read Seth's question here, and then we'll move on to Seth's question. Seth is looking for failed swing high, swing low breaks of a swing high, swing low here. So give me a moment to get a swing indicator on here, and then we'll find some examples. So, Shark Indicators, right, has this free swing highs and lows indicator here. That works a little better with Bloodhound than NinjaTrader's standard swing indicator. So let's put this on, and I'm going to knock the number of swings down to 2. And yeah, all right, let's just see what we get here. And look at that. All right, I think this will work. Great. So we have a wick here that broke this swing high. Great. I think, yeah, that looks like a great example. Let's just see if I can find any others here. Well, here's another one. But all right, I'm going to stick with the one back here. Okay, so let's recap this question here. So using a swing highs and lows indicator here, what Seth wants to identify is when a wick right, punches through either the swing high or a swing low, and identify it as a failed kind of breakthrough here, right? Because you have the wick punching through, but then the bar closes, right, back below that swing high or above the swing low there, right? So to do this, we're going to be comparing, the high point, high price, and comparing the low price, right, to the swing lines here. So in this case, compare the high to the swing high, and then also make sure that the close of the bar, this is a down bar, the close is below the swing high, right? So the high is above and the close is below, and there, we could even check the open of it as well, right? Because you never know, right? That the bar that has a wick that break punches through, right, could be the open, or it could be the close. So we'll kind of throw that in just for good measure there. Just and also get more practice here. So and then over here, right, be the opposite here for punching through a swing low there, right? So the low is below, and in this case, we would want the close to be above, right? So obviously this is not an actual signal here. This is not the actual condition looking for, because the body, is actually touching the swing, that swing low there. So, all right, so we have that one to work with, right? So we're going to need a bunch of comparison solvers since we're comparing, a bunch of different prices there, right, to that swing line. So let's start adding some comparison solvers. Connect that one in. All right. So, I take it this is going to be a counter trend signal, right? So as Seth calls it, like a failed, something like a swing failure pattern. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to generate a short signal based on this failure pattern here, right? And if the wick punches through a swing low, then we'll generate a long signal off of that, right? So counter trend, essentially. So we're going to be comparing the high price of the bar for a long signal, and then it'll be the low price for a short signal, and then we're comparing that to the swing high or the swing low. Actually, oops, hold on, I got all this backwards. So in my naming convention, I always like to put the long signal data first. So as mentioned here, when the low punches through a swing low, that'll generate a long signal here. So for a long signal, we're going to be looking at the low price. And then for a short, we'll be looking at the high price. And then when comparing to the swing lines, right, the swing low is used to generate a long signal, and then a swing high is used to generate a short signal. Yeah, so, all right, so just to be clear, there we go. So we expect to see a short signal there. Okay, so I've got this named, so now let's input all that information here. So input A, right, is again going to be bar prices here. So switch the type to price, right? And so for a long signal, we're looking at the low price, and then for a short, it's almost always the opposite, and so it'll be the high price. Now input B, that's going to be our swing indicator here. So let's open up the indicator there. And go into Shark Indicators. And there is the swing highs and lows indicator. And we just need to adjust all the indicator settings, right, to match what we have on the chart, right? So I just changed the number of swings to 2. Now we have to figure out what plots are we using. So on the chart, I only have the widest tops, right, which is the green line, and the widest bottoms, which is the red line. All right, so the tightest tops and the tightest bottoms, those are turned off there. So let's see here. All right, so again, the swing lows is used for a long signal here. Here we go. So that's going to be the widest bottoms. And so the widest tops is used for the shorts. So there we go. There we have it. And and again, this is kind of a counter trend, a counter trend signal here. So when we look at this, right, so we can see, right, that high is above that swing high, but we're expecting a short. But look, this is the actual bar that has no short output, right? There's no short output. That's because it's counter trend. So we need to go into the comparison rules and reverse those conditions, right? So for a short, the high price needs to be greater than, not less than, the swing high. So let's reverse this, right? It needs to be greater than, there we go, and vice versa, right? For a short, the low needs to be less than the swing low. So we need to change this to less than. All right, hit apply. There we go. There we have it. Yeah, and we can see there's actually a bunch of highs there, right, that are higher. So let's click OK. There we go. And there we go, a bunch of lows that are lower than the swing low. All right, so now let's start comparing the closing price of the bar and make sure the close of the bar is, right, less than, or the close here is greater than the swing low, right? So let's add another comparison solver. All right. So input A, that is the closing price of the bar. So we'll set the type to price. And the closing price is the default, so we're good to go there. Don't need to change anything. Now input B, we do need to plug in that swing indicator again. So let's go here, swing highs and lows, adjust the number of swings, like so. And then again, the swing bottoms, or the widest bottoms, is used for long signals, and the tops is used for short signals, like so. And let's see here. Yeah, okay, great. Here we go. So here's a good example, right? So we can see that typically the closing price is almost always between the swing high and the swing low here. But here in this specific bar, right? Remember, this bar does not meet the conditions here that Seth wants, because the close is below the swing low, right? He only wants to see a wick. That close should have been above, and so we know that this might have generated a long signal, but because the close is below, it doesn't. And what we're looking for is that there's no long output, right? This long output prevents a long signal from generating here, all right? So the way we can confirm that is now we need an AND node, right? Because we need both of these conditions true on the same bar. All right, so when we look at this, there we go. right? So yeah, so this bar here, right, that close actually is above, and the low price of the bar is below the swing low, right? So now, yeah, actually, as I said earlier, you might also want to look at the open of the bar as well. If you're truly wanting a signal only when the wick punches through, but the body is still on the opposite side of that swing, right? Then we can see here, there's a good example where you also need to check the open price as well. Let's see here. So we could do that. I can copy this and paste it here. And instead of the close, we'll look at the open there and switch input A to the open price of the bar. And there's the open. There's the open. And let's pull this over there. So now once we connect this in, there we go. Now we can see that signal goes away, right? If we look at this comparison solver by itself, we can see it's missing, right, a long output here on this specific bar, right? It does have a long output on this bar with the triangle, right? It does have a long output there, but remember, when the closing price solver here, or node, right, the one looking at the closing price, right, that one is missing the long output here for this bar. All right, so that's how both of those bars were filtered out. So one was looking at the close and the other one was looking at the open. So, right. Now, there is a quicker way to do this here. So instead of needing two nodes, one for the close, one for the open, right, we can actually do this. So I believe it was last year. Yeah, we added a new a new calculated price into Bloodhound here. All right. And so instead of using the close, what we're really interested in is, so for a long signal here, right, we need the body bottom. The bottom of the body needs to be above, right? And then over here, the body top needs to be below, right? So instead of looking at the close and the open, we can just say, hey, let's make sure that the body top is below for a short and the body bottom is above for a long. So we can go in here. So for a long signal, if we scroll down, we can use the body bottom. And for a short here, so for this short, that would be looking at the body top. So we can use these body prices here, and we don't actually need this extra node here. And there we go. And we can see those are filtered out there. And yeah, so it looks like yeah, looks like somehow just barely that body top is below the swing high. I don't think technically that should happen, but it can. Yeah. If we wanted to, let's see if this will filter this out here. Actually, I might put there. Let's mark that And actually, let's just double check the prices there. Oh, actually, it is a tick below. Okay. It's all right. Yeah, this is the NQ. So, yeah, everything's so squished up. Yeah. Yeah. This is why it's good to have indicators to check things for you. Because, yeah, there we go. Once we stretch it out enough, there we go. That actually is a good, valid, that is correct there. But let's say you're trading oil, right? If anybody's traded oil, you know that every once in a while you get tick prices coming in at a fraction of a tick. I wish I knew how these guys were able to trade at fractions of a tick when it comes to oil, but it does come through. So if you wanted to, just for good measure, we can open up the comparison rules here, and we could put in, I'm going to switch this over to ticks. We could put in like half a tick there. Oops. Half a tick, right? Or whatever it is. So the body, so for here, so the body top has to be less than the swing high minus half a tick. All right, so you could throw that in. If you're trading one of those instruments that somehow traders are able to trade in those, fractions of a tick somehow. So, yeah. There, I'll go ahead and leave that in there just for good measure. And so now we can actually get rid of this comparison solver, right? That's just an extra. That's not needed, and you should keep your systems lean and clean so that way those unused nodes are not having to be calculated, right? And let's see. All right, so there we have it. Yeah, well, it looks like once again that wick is probably a tick higher than the swing high. So there we go. Yeah. So, all right, now there's other elements of this question here. So let me get to this. And oh, actually here I see Seth answered me back. So okay, yeah, so good. Get Seth just confirmed that the failure of a swing high should generate a short. Yep. Okay. And all right, so there's other elements here, which is wanted is that the wick should have a length of at least 25% of the range of the bar. Yeah. So Seth, I don't have an indicator that calculates the percentage of a wick. So if you have one, let me know, and I can add that to this in another workshop there. All right, but Bloodhound does not calculate wick percentages or anything else, right? That's the job of indicators, right? Bloodhound doesn't calculate a swing high, right? It's the job of a swing high. So if you want to calculate, percentages of a wick, based on the entire length of the bar, right? You need a custom indicator to do those custom calculations there. So what we can do is the comparison solver. So for the interim there, the comparison solver, if we open up the rules window here, it does have ATR. So that gets you pretty close there. Right? It's not perfect, but it gets you close there. And if you're using ATRs, then we need to adjust the period of that ATR. All right, adjust the period down to 1. So we're only looking at, right, that individual bar there. So again, the little gears icon is how you can change the period for the ATR there. All right. Let's see here. Yeah. All right. So we'll get back to this here in a moment. Let's finish setting up the inputs here. All right. Let's see here. Let's go back. Okay, there we go. We'll go back to this bar here. All right. So for a short, we want the the high, and I'm going to use the body top. So we're going to check the ATR length of the high to the body top for a short. Right. So let's put a name in here first. Let's see, you said 25%. So I'll go 1/4 of an ATR. There. All right, so input A is going to be the low and the high. So let's switch the type over to price and put in the low and the high price. And then input B is going to be the body prices. So again, switch this over to price. And then let's go plug in those body prices. And there. All right, so we have the input set up. Now we need to go back to the rules window here. And as mentioned, we're going to put in 1/4 of an ATR there. And let's see, these need to be reversed, I believe. Let's see, the high, sorry, for long, yeah, the low needs to be less than the body bottom and body bottom. So let's take a look at this. Right, so if we're measuring this wick here, yeah, the body bottom, and we're minusing that 1/4 of an ATR. So we need to reverse these conditions as well. All right, so that low needs to be less than the body bottom minus this 1/4 of an ATR. And maybe you might want to also include the equals symbol as well, just in case, like so. And there we go. All right. So we do actually have a bunch of candles here. Yeah, we can see we have a bunch of candles with a bunch of long wicks here, right? This guy, 2 long wick on the top and the bottom, long wick on the bottom. So if a candle has a long wick on the bottom, right, it's going to generate a long output. And if it has a long wick on the top there, it'll generate a short output there, right? And in this case here, yeah, I guess that upper wick is more than 1/4 of the length, and that lower wick as well. Yeah, so there, so we get a long and a short because both of those wicks or more than 25%, or quarter of a, sorry, not percent, quarter of an ATR. So, um, there. All right, so connect that in. And let's go back here. All right, I think that one, that's going to qualify, but these two here will not qualify. Yeah, so if we connect that in, there we go. So those two disappeared. And, oh, there we go. So we found one there. And let's see. We did have a couple over here. Yeah, there we go. So we had a signal there and a signal there, and that those got filtered out. Right, so let's disconnect this. Oh, okay, just the one. There we go. So that was filtered out. There we go. That little short wick was filtered out. All right, let's connect that back up. There we go. There. So. All right, another one. Um, I guess so. I don't know. That wick looks a little short, but then again, we are using ATR because Bloodhound does not calculate that stuff, right? So since ATR comes with every trading platform out there, right, we can pull in the ATR into Bloodhound and let the ATR indicator, calculate what it does there. Yeah, maybe some point NinjaTrader will include a wick percentage indicator at some point, and then we can incorporate that into Bloodhound. Yeah. All right, and I believe, let's see here. No, that's right. There's one more condition here. Yeah, all right. So this wick should be no less than 25%. So we have a quarter of an ATR. And no more, that wick should be no more than 2 ATRs. All right. So let's see here. So let's copy this solver here. And I don't think we're going to have an example to work with here, but let's make a copy. And then we'll paste this down here. And so this time we want 2 ATRs here. And since this 2 ATR, so we want a maximum length of these wicks to be 2 ATRs. So this is a maximum length, not a minimum length. Right, so just to be clear, all right, there. Just to be clear, this quarter of an ATR was a minimum length. So now we're going with a maximum length, so that means we just reverse these conditions. Oh, all right. Yeah, this doesn't work. Um, wait, yeah, this doesn't work because of the ATR period. There. So I need to go into the comparison rules here and go into the ATR periods, and we do need to bump this up a little bit here. So I guess we'll just put the standard 14 period in there. There we go. All right. There. So we can see this long upper wick is missing a short output there, right? So if that wick, happened to punch through the swing high, because there's no short output, right, it would prevent a short signal here. There. Let's see if we have some others. There we go. All right. Yeah, perfect. We actually have a wick that punched through there. So let's see here. So normally, yep, there we go. There's our long signal. But now if we plug in our little long wick filter here, boom, it disappears. All right. It's nice when the market works with you and provides examples. So, yeah. So again, looking at this, looking at this 2 ATR, wick thing here, it's missing a long output on that bar there, right? So the absence of that long output is what filters out, right? That long wick there, that signal. There we go. All right, so there is our short, right? Wick, punch it through the swing high, punch through the swing high, punch through the swing low. All right. And let's see. All right, that was it. Those were all the requirements here. And there was one other question or comment here. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Seth was asking to hear an expanded conversation on some blog. Yeah, so Seth, that is way outside the scope of our support. We don't read other people's blogs. We don't read other vendors or other coaches, trading rules or whatever. So just to give you an example, so you know what we expect. A few times people have just emailed us literally like a 2-page document saying, how do I build this in Bloodhound? That is outside the scope of our support. We do not read research papers, and we don't read, somebody's long-winded explanation of a trade setup, right? So if when you're looking for how to build stuff in Bloodhound, you do need to provide us the summary of exactly what the conditions are. For example, looking at Seth's, Seth did break down this wick or this failed swing breakout here. He did break it down into 3 simple conditions. And that's exactly what I expect when you guys ask questions here. All right, so please, yeah, don't email us other people's documents because, yeah, we're not here to read them and figure them out for you. Yeah, you are expected to understand that and to be able to summarize it into, the mechanical um, conditions here, such as we have here, and just summarize that in your email to me or to us, and then we can provide you help with that. So, yeah. So, all right. Yeah. So basically, yeah, no comment. Also, we're not trading coaches, so we don't provide expanded conversations on someone else's work. We leave that up to the trading coaches there. So, um, yeah. So I think that concludes this question, but let me first see if there's any follow-up questions here. I think I saw some follow-up questions. Let's see here. Yeah, it's just a comment. Seth is saying, yeah, the idea of the minimum wick length is to help clean up those slight breakthroughs. Yep, makes sense. Right, right, right. Um, yeah, let's see, where were they? I think they were way back here. So yeah, I think that might have been one. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, that was just a comment. And all right. And yeah. So Seth is saying, yeah, 25% may not be ideal. Yeah. Again, these workshops here, I'm not here to help figure out what the best settings are for you guys. That's your job as a trader to figure that out. Again, we're not trading coaches, so I don't ever provide or try to figure out optimal settings. Yeah, that's up to you guys. But what I do want to show you guys is, again, if you want to change that 25, ATR, that quarter of an ATR, that is in the comparison rules here. Right. So if we open up the comparison rules, right, that's what this plus or minus, some multiplier or value of either the ATR, points, ticks, and Renko bricks, which, yeah, nobody ever uses Renko bricks. So if anybody wants to see an explanation, I'll just show you the documentation because nobody actually uses it. It was an idea that Jeremy had, but yeah, didn't. I don't think anybody really took to it. So, but anyways, my point is, yeah, you would adjust whatever fraction of an ATR in there. So, yeah, but also, yeah, that brings up something else here that I wanted to bring up, which is if you do find a custom indicator that will output the length of the upper wick and the length of the lower wick, right? If it'll output that value in whatever percentages, I guess, then the way that you would want to read that custom indicator is you would want to use a threshold solver to read that custom indicator. All right. So you would plug in, that custom indicator here, and I would assume that the programmer would make one plot that outputs the upper wick percentage and a second plot that plots the lower wick percentage. All right. So, now let's see, the SMA only has one plot. There we go. Oh, look at that. All right. So using the APZ as an example, right? It has a plot called lower and upper. So actually, this kind of works out great. Yeah. So maybe the programmer of this custom indicator would just say lower. That would be your lower wick. See, the lower wick generates long signals. All right. The upper wick would generate, right, would be used for those short signals here. So you would select, whatever two plots are giving you that percentage output of the wicks, like so. And then in the threshold rules, this is where you would set up that percentage value. So I'm guessing it would just output a value of 25 for 25%, 100 for 100%. Again, just speculating on this unknown indicator here. So let's see here. Yeah, so in this case, you'd be looking for values greater than or equal. Yeah, so you'd want both the upper wick and the lower wick to be greater than 25%. So, so there you go. Just kind of a, a mock-up kind of demonstration if you did ever find a custom indicator here. But the real key is knowing exactly what value it outputs, because it might output 0.25 for 25%, right? It might output the mathematical. So you have to go to the creator of that indicator and discover how those values are being output. Is one, right? Mathematically, one is 100%, right? And mathematically, 0.25 is 25%. So you never know. So it could be 25 or 0.25. So yeah. So again, you'd use a threshold solver to read that percentage output of that custom indicator there. Okay. So, all right, let's get rid of that. We don't need that. There. All right, so I got through that comment. All right, so Lior, I'm not sure if your question here pertains, to this topic. But if it does, I need some clarification. So Lior is asking if there's a wick going down, so a lower wick, but the trade is going up, how do we fix that? I don't know what needs to be fixed. I don't see a problem with there being a wick going down, but the trade's going long. Yeah, you need to kind of explain what the issue is. I don't see anything that needs to be fixed. Yeah, so if you want to clarify that for me, then that doesn't sound like something that I provide. That sounds like trading advice to me. So I don't think that would be something that I would answer in this workshop. Because again, guys, I don't fix stuff. If you got something broken, we at Shark Indicators, we're not here to fix your system, right? That's the job of a trading coach, to fix, to give you that advice on fixing your system here. So you must know what you want, and then I am here in these workshops to take what you want and how you're going to do it. So that's the other keys. You need to know how to do it, and then I'll show you how to translate that into Bloodhound. Yeah, so just think of me as a translator, not a repair person. So yeah. All All right. So, anyways, we'll hold on to Leor's question here, um, in case that is something I can address. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay. So I just had to scroll down below. All right. So Leo is saying, yeah, the signal is short, but the trade is long. Um, so I'm guessing you just want to reverse the signals. Yeah. If all you're wanting to do is just reverse the signals, then we can do this. So I could just take this AND node and let me find some signals first. Yeah, here we go. All right, there's a couple of signals. There. And yeah, so if you're wanting to reverse those, I could click on the AND node here and hit the swap button, right? And there you go. We can see those signals were reversed there. Yeah. And then you can see in the AND node, there's a little icon here showing you the swap, right? The swap icon there. So you know that this AND node has essentially been reversed there. So that's one way to do it. That's an easy way to do it. Although keep in mind, when you do use these modifiers here, it's easy to overlook them and forget that it's been modified here, right? So if you do fall prey to that, then what we can do, the original way to swap your signals is to use the long short modifier there. And there we go. We can see the long short modifier here reversed our signals there, right? And the mode, right? The default mode is swap, right? So we can see it's, so essentially we took a couple of functions out of the modifier, the most common ones, and we put them up here. So invert and swap are pretty commonly used. So we've added these modifier to all the nodes. So that way you don't have to throw in a bunch of long short modifier nodes here. Now you can just take a node, take a node and you can invert it or swap it right instantly without having to tie in, right, this long short modifier. So it's a little a shortcut that we added added back with Bloodhound version 2 here. Yeah. So yeah. So I guess that's what you're asking there, Leor. Yeah. So if you build a system and your signals are all backwards, I would say what you should do is go into each of the nodes, figure out, go through each of these nodes, and go through the rules windows and reverse that node's output. Right. So for example here, so instead of using a long short modifier to fix, all of these nodes being set up backwards, really what I would suggest the best way is to go in to each of these nodes and reverse the rules there for that node, right? Go in and reverse all of these conditions here, like so. And let's see here. Yeah, that that didn't exactly work. Yeah, it actually, yeah, sometimes you can't just reverse things because it actually inverted everything here. So it didn't give you a true invert, but so you might have, so you'd have to adjust other things as well. But that would be the proper way to do it, because otherwise, right, if your signals are coming out reversed and then you're reversing the signals, then you're right. You're creating a double negative. You're kind of like talking in double negatives, right? And that just gets confusing for people. So yeah, but it works. Okay. So let's just put this back. There we go. All right. So I think that was our last follow-up question on this. Let's see here. And yeah, all right. So let me jump down to Wayne. So Wayne had a follow-up question that came in, yeah, after I'd moved on here, but Wayne wanted to see, oh, actually, hold on. There. All right. So I got this a name here. All right. Yeah. So Wayne wanted to see the logic here of the first question that came in, which. And actually, this was Wayne's question. There we go. No wonder. All right. Yeah. So Wayne, these nodes here are all the same, with the exception that just the look back period has to be adjusted. So that's why I put this number in brackets to tell me what the look back period is. You know, for input B, right? For input B, the look back period is incremented by 1. So we can see this node here, right? Its look back period is 4. And for this one, the look back period is 5. Yeah. So these were all copies of each other. And then I just had to go and adjust the name and then increment the look back period. And that's all it took, right? So let me start with the one on top here, the first one, right? Just comparing the high to the low, and then the low to the high there. And as far as the rules window goes, I didn't use the equals, all right, because you said, yeah, you wanted a little gap. So technically, if you're not using the equals, there should be technically a gap there. Yeah. But if you really wanted to, you could say put in like half a tick. If you wanted to, put half a tick in there. So, but I think that's really only necessary for those instruments that sometimes trade in fractions of a tick. So, yeah. All right, so there you go, Wayne. Also, just remember, everybody, at the end of these workshops, you can always email into support and ask for a copy of today's workshop file. Right? So just simply email support, and then once this Bloodhound file is uploaded to the website, then Mike will email you back the link to this Bloodhound file. So, all right, and just to show you, and yeah, so just to show you, all of these Bloodhound workshop files, they're all uploaded to the website here, so you guys can download them. Yeah, like for example, if we go down to the recordings here, go down to this list, and if you click on that link, right, it takes you to the template file downloads page here. It takes you to that page. And that is on support. So the support menu, you can see halfway down, right there, template files. Right. So that's where all these are located here. So now we're actually a couple of pages in. So if I just go to template files, right? So here's the starting page for the template files, right? And you can see there's all of these different categories here. Right? So here's the Bloodhound, and there's the Blackbird ones, and there's even chart templates. So the Bloodhound workshops, I do save out NinjaTrader's chart templates there as well. And then if you're watching any really old videos, here's the old Ninja 7 Bloodhound files there. So, yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So, yeah, if you want a copy of the Bloodhound file, just email support and Mike will email you the direct link back to this template files download page. Here. Okay. Something else I wanted to mention at the beginning here. So, yeah, I got directly carried away with questions. So NinjaTrader did just recently push out an update here. So if we go here, right, so this was released back in September, but now if we scroll down to the bottom, here we go. So 1.6.1 has been released, and this contains a bunch of fixes here. Yeah, this is all just a bunch of fixes here. So, which I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure this fix pertains to an error that we've actually had a customer email us about. So, yeah, so it looks like NinjaTrader, I think, yeah, I think this Infragistics, yeah, was related to that customer, yeah, error that we saw. So, but anyways, yeah, bunch of other fixes. So definitely, sounds like a good update to get. All right, there. Let's see here. All right, so let me move on here. Let's see. All right, yeah, so Leor's question about the VWAP, that was actually a Blackbird related question. Yeah, so Leor, either join me again tomorrow in the Blackbird workshop, or if you can't make it tomorrow, then email your question into support. So that way I have a copy of it, right? And in your email, just put in there Blackbird workshop question, and I'll get your question answered tomorrow there for you. All right, so let's see, let's remove that and that. Let's see. All right, Leo is asking, how do you identify this on the graph? Yeah, I don't know what graph you're talking about. Bloodhound and Blackbird don't generate graphs. Yeah, so sorry, I don't know what you're asking. All right, let's see here. We got Wayne's. Yeah, Wayne's question answered. All right, looks like Wayne's out of here for the day. Got to play around with this new system. And all right. right, Leor. Yeah. I guess don't hesitate, to ask questions in these workshops. I'll answer whatever I can, and if I can't, I'll let you know that I can't answer them. So, yeah. So being new to Bloodhound and or Blackbird, that's what these workshops are all about. It's just coming in, asking all your questions, and learning the software as fast as possible. So all right. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I am out of questions. Let's see. Well, we're approaching the 2 hour mark. So that's typical for these Bloodhound workshops. They're usually around 2 hours, give or take. So let's see here. So I'll hang around for at least another 10 minutes or so to see if anybody else has any questions. All right. And then if I don't see any questions in the next 10 minutes, then I'll just assume we're done for the day. And basically, when there's a lengthy period of no more questions, that's my cue that we're done for the day. All right. So again, for the new people, if you have questions, keep them coming. The workshop will stay open basically as long as necessary to get all your guys' questions answered here. All right. And it's only when the questions stop, that's when I close up shop. So, all right, gentlemen. Yeah, so I'm just going to mute my microphone here and wait for the next question to come in. All right. Yeah, you're welcome, Seth. Actually, thanks for the question. So, yeah, that's the other thing here that I didn't mention in the workshop introduction, which is these workshops run on your questions. If there's no questions, there's no workshop. All right. So we at Shark Indicators, we don't make stuff up for you guys to play with. So these workshops are here only to answer your guys' questions. So I'm not here to say, hey, try this, try that. All right. We're not trading coaches. So we don't provide ideas. These workshops take your questions, your ideas of what you want to build, what you want to look at, and then I'll build them for you in these workshops. All right. So, yeah. So when you come to these workshops, please try and bring as many questions as you can so that way I have something to do. Right. No questions, then I have nothing to do. So, yeah. So there you go. A little more information, yeah, about exactly what these workshops are for. So, all right. Let's see. So with that, it looks like Charles and Seth have a question for me, maybe. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess Charles is checking out for the day as well. All right, Charles, have a good one. See you next time, hopefully. And Seth does have a quick question. All right. Yeah, so Seth has a question about reading basically volume profile, footprint, cumulative delta, volume type of data that various indicators generate, right? Calculate. So Bloodhound itself is not a footprint indicator. So it, again, Bloodhound pulls indicator data together. Bloodhound is not a Swiss Army knife of all indicators to do whatever you want. So, the good example was calculating a percentage of the wick length, right? Bloodhound is not a Swiss Army knife it doesn't actually build indicators. It doesn't do custom calculations. So that's the job of custom indicators, to do those custom calculations. And then once you have that indicator outputting a value that you're looking for, then Bloodhound can reach those values. Yeah, so NinjaTrader does have, right, the order flow indicators here. And most, I think, yeah, actually after this update, yeah, NinjaTrader 1.6.0, I did read through their release notes again here. Where was it? Yeah, so reading through NinjaTrader's release notes here, I did remind myself again that NinjaTrader did open up more of their order flow indicators here. Yeah, let's see, where was it? Yeah, here it is. NinjaScript access for volume profile. Yeah. So, yeah, so let's tinker around with this. So I actually haven't checked to see if the volume profile actually has a direct readable. Based on this, it looks like it should. Bloodhound should be able to read these custom volume profile data points here, like the point of control, the value area high and low, developing point of control. So let's play around with that and see what we get here. Oh. All right, there's our volume profile. Yeah. Started at the session open, which was yesterday. And yeah, it looks like we have a value area high and a low plotted out here and a point of control. So let's see if we can read that. All right. Yeah, I'm going to use let's use the crossover solver. Yeah. So I'll check to see if the closing price crosses over some kind of volume profile, data point. So, all right. So input A, we'll switch this to price. And here's the big reveal. Input B, we'll see if we have access to the volume profile. And there we go. Yeah, so in the past, these developing plots actually had nothing in them. They contained nothing. Even though they were visible, they just had no data. So let's see here. Let's check that. Oh, actually, we can already see that Yeah, as soon as I plug this in. No, sorry, never mind. Excellent. All right. That is really good to see. Yeah, NinjaTrader is implementing further improvements. So there we go. Yeah. So as we can see here, yeah, so the value area high has moved since that point, since then. Um, and yeah, it looks like the value area low has moved as well because we got a crossover here, but we didn't get that crossover. Yeah. So, yeah, so obviously historically the volume profile indicator doesn't show you its historical values. At least, yeah, we can see here, right? The value area plots are just a straight line. The point of control is a straight line, so it's not showing you historical. So it's a little hard to evaluate, stuff like that. But the good news is, right, is that we now have access to the volume profile data there. Let's see, initial point of control. Oh, actually, let's check. Yeah, so I'm going to check those initial value area high and lows and see what we get there. Hmm. Well, nothing. All right. Well, let's see if the developing ones. Actually, I already did that. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So, um, there's an example. So some of these order flow indicators are readable. There still are some that are not. Um, um, and so the one that was always readable was the cumulative delta. So if I switch over the cumulative delta, you can see this indicator does give you its open, high, low, and close prices there. Yeah, so you can use that. And the VWAP has always, um, basically it's just a fancier Keltner channel, so to speak. Um, yeah, so the VWAP, you know, it does have readable plots there for all the standard deviations there, so that's good. But all right, yeah, I thought there was another order flow indicator that they exposed. So, yeah, let's pull this up here. Oh, the trade detector. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, the trade detector was not readable either. It didn't have any kind of output that you could read, I think. Oh, all right. Yeah, I guess it just has alerts. It's not readable still. But let's find out. No, it's not listed there. So, yeah, unfortunately, the trade detector values still, NinjaTrader is not outputting those values. Yeah, let's just do a little search. Trade. Yeah, trade detector's not there. So, well, who knows? Maybe at some point, yeah, they'll make the trade detector readable. So, um, let's see here. So that was from Seth. Okay, yeah, that was Seth's question. All right. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, Raj has a question about, yeah, so when a condition happens, how do you extend that forward in time so that the next condition can be connected with the previous condition? So let's see if I can make something up here. Let's see, what do I have? Okay, so I've got something here I can work with. All right, so using the previous question here about reading some of the order flow, um, right? I just have a crossover, and so we're checking to see when the closing price of the bar crosses the developing point of control there, right? Um, so that's condition A. And then condition B will be when the closing price crosses the swing high and vice versa, right? So we can see here, right, that crossover cap occurred here, but price then crosses the swing high a couple bars later. So how do we reconcile those two conditions? So let me build another crossover here. There. All right, so input A will be the price, closing price of the bar, and then input B will be the swing indicator. All right, adjust the settings and there. And let's see here. Oh, looks like we have a little data issue, so let's just reload the chart. There we go. There we go. So there's our price crossing the swing high. Yeah. So how do we connect those two crossovers together is the question here. So there's a couple of ways to do that. Um, we can use a signal extender to do that. So if I plug that in, like so, right there we go. There's our crossover. And now we extended it for 5 more bars, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? For our condition B to catch up or to occur, right? So with the signal extender, right, you can determine what the maximum number of bars are to connect condition A with condition B, right? So there's a signal extender, which also has the benefit of, if something comes along and invalidates condition A, it becomes invalid, right? And so you don't want a signal to occur, even though condition B might occur. The advantage of the signal extender, right, is it has this reset connection. So you can disable or turn off the signal extending with a reset condition. So you can, build some other logic nodes here, connect them into the reset, and it turns the signal extender off. Right. So that's what all these resets are for here. Right. So you have all of these different reset conditions there, like so. Or if you just want something simpler, we could use a look back node. So with the look back node, you're going to want to turn off the displacement, set it to 0. And then with the look back period, right, I can set that to 5 and then find the maximum value. And there we have it. So we have that crossover now extended for 4 bars because this is a look back period. So this number 5 starts at 1. So it's a little different than the signal extender. So at least the incrementing, the counting is different because we're dealing with a period, whereas the signal extender is not dealing with the period. Right? It's just just a counting mechanism. So so there's 2 different ways you can take condition A and extend it forward. So that way, with a AND node, like so, bingo. And there is our final 2 conditions together. Yeah. There is a more lengthy video on this. Let's see if I can find it. Trying to think of the term I would use. Yeah. Well, there we go. Connecting signals using the signal extender. There you go. Using the look back node there. Hmm. Surprising that YouTube search capability is really horrific when it comes as compared to Google or yeah, Google search. um, hmm. Oh, there we go. Okay. Linking multiple trade conditions together. There we have it. Okay. Here's another one. All right. Stringing trade conditions together. So, all right. Yeah. And yeah, keep in mind these are older videos. This is Bloodhound version 1, but the nodes, right? These are using it function nodes. So the nodes have not changed. It's just the user interface of Bloodhound looks different. So the concepts taught always are the same from Bloodhound version 1 to Bloodhound version 2, right? Logic is logic. It doesn't matter what version of Bloodhound you're on. Logic is logic. So, so all the conditions and the logics taught here uh, are still pertinent for Bloodhound version 2. So, yeah. So anyways, yeah, there we go. So linking and stringing trade conditions together. So yeah. Let's see here. All right, so that was Raj's question. All right, looks like Doug has a question here. Hmm. All right, so Doug, trying to understand exactly what you're looking for here. So Doug, are you looking to identify when the Donchian channel makes moves higher or moves lower, or are you actually looking at the high um, price of the bar? Yeah, because you say the high close of the current bar. So I'm not sure if you're looking at bar prices or if you're looking at the Donchian channel plots. So my guess is, yeah, this is just the standard question with the Donchian channel of figuring out when the Donchian channel steps higher or steps lower. Um, the high is also moving higher. All right, yeah. So Doug, I need you to identify what moving higher means. That's a loosey-goosey kind of terminology there. It's, yeah. All right, and let's see here. Let me kind of clean up some of the questions and comments on here. Okay. All right. So when the Donchian channel moves higher, um, to me there's only one condition. Either the high Donchian channel high moves higher or it doesn't. I yeah I don't quite get this secondary criteria of moving higher. But anyways, let's get into this here. Let's get started. Let's see. All right, wipe that out. There. And all right, let's get this order flow off the chart. And all right, let's get the Donchian indicator on the chart. There. All right, I guess I'll just stick with the 15 period here. So I wonder. Oh, I do have a default. All right, let's remove that. There. There. All right, so we'll identify when the Donchian channel, when the high is moving higher, and when the low is moving lower. All right. All right, so I'm grabbing a comparison solver here. All right. All right, I'm just going to abbreviate this as higher highs and lower lows. Yeah. All right, so input A, that'll be the Donchian channel. Like so. And I do have a 15 period on the chart. I believe, yeah. All right, and then, all right, so when the upper moves higher, we'll generate a long, and when the lower moves lower, we'll generate a short. There. And yeah, all right, I'm still on a 15 period. There. Okay, and for input B, that will be the same, the Donchian channel. There. All right, so the upper line moves higher for a long, and the lower line moves lower for a short. But then input B, we need to set a displacement so we can look back. Effectively, the displacement is like looking back one bar on an indicator, right? So that's effectively what it does for logic. When you're building logic, the displacement is how you look back X number of bars on an indicator, right? Obviously, on the chart, it takes a value from the past and extends it forward. But for logic, it's a way to look back. So, and there we go. Okay, I didn't have to change. No changes to the rules window there. Yep. So there we go. Lows lower, low lower, lower low. There we go. Lower low, high moving higher. Right. Those high or the upper when it moves down, nothing happens. But when the upper moves higher, there we go. All right, so I think that's what you were looking for, right? So you just put the Dodging channel in both input A and input B, but the displacement there is the key, so you can look back on that indicator. So, all right, let me take a look at the Q&A window, see if there's any follow-ups on this. And okay, there we go. All right, yeah, so Doug just needed to, yeah, see the displacement there for the indicators. All right, excellent. And all right, that takes care of that question, I think. So let's see what Tyrone has next, although let's actually, yeah, let me give this logic template a name. There. All right, now let me take a look, see what Tyrone's got. Oh, thanks, Tyrone. All right, yeah, Tyrone caught something here. I guess he just had a comment about, yeah, the order flow volume profile. So yeah, and I deleted those. Shoot. But um, yeah, at some point I will play around with the volume profile in my spare time, so that way I've got some experience and knowledge with it with Bloodhound. And let's see here. Hmm. Yeah, so Tyrone, this visible option just makes a indicator visible or not. It doesn't change its historical plot. Yeah, all indicators have this visible checkbox here. So yeah, it doesn't look like it has anything to actually show the value areas historically. Um, yeah, at least nothing that seems like that just from glancing through it. But let's see, go to lines. Okay, yeah, I thought I looked through all the lines. Let's give this another shot. Let's see. Yeah. Well, let's make this a little more visible here. There. Ah, there it is. All right. Um, hmm. Yeah, I wonder if they made this available to NinjaScript. Well, that's a new one. Okay. There we go. I got so many lines on my chart. Um, yeah. So there is the value area lines. Yeah, which would have matched up with that crossover solver that I built earlier. Yeah, so that line and that line. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, good to know. Thanks, Tyrone. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Well, all right. Let me move this, take this off. There. And, right. Looks like Leora has a question here. Uh, all right. Is it possible to use data from the market analyzer as an ATR 7D example? Not that I know of. You would need to ask NinjaTrader support if you can export market analyzer data um, as an indicator. So I don't know of any such thing. But yeah, you definitely would need to ask that question of NinjaTrader. So I don't believe it's possible. Now, if you're trying to find the ATR of a 7-day period, I mean, that can be done on the chart. Um, so, yeah, but that I guess that would be a different question there. Um, mm, actually, no, I think I'm going to take back what I was thinking here. So, let's see. All right, so I'm using a threshold solver here to read the ATR. Um, and oh, geez. All right, I'm overthinking this. Sorry. Yeah, let's set this to 7. Um, yeah. So with just reading an ATR, what we can do is on the solvers panel here, we can add another time frame or another chart. Right, so a little add button there. So we can see we have a 1 minute time frame. And we can go in, right? So with this selected, we can see right on the property inspector, we can change it from minute to day, right? And so we have a 1 day a 1-day time frame here. And then I can take this threshold solver and move it down. It's kind of tricky to get it there. There we go. So now the indicator, right, in this threshold solver, being the ATR, that 7 period would be a 7 period of whatever this time frame is. So this being a daily chart now, that would be a 7 period daily chart there, right? And what happened there? Undo. There we go. All right. So let's see here. Let's just see what is the range here of a 7-day ATR. So let's see if the market's. Yeah, I'm looking at another chart here. Just a moment. Yeah. All right. So my guess is that on the daily chart, the ATR might be greater than 100 points. So let's see if that's the case. But first, since we added another chart here, we can see Bloodhound's telling us, okay, you got to reload so that NinjaTrader can load up that other time frame. So Ninja has to load that other time frame here. So that can't be done automatically, not yet. So, but also what you also have to do is, right, if, since we're on a intraday chart, your chart has to have 7 days of data on it. Actually, your chart really needs to have 1 extra day. So we need at least 8 days minimum to check that. And I'll just put in 10 days just for good measure there. And of course that reloads the chart. And yep, there we go. So the fact that we're getting along a short output tells us the ATR is greater than 100 points per day here. And let's see. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, so as of today, yeah, the ATR did increase to above 100. And as of yesterday, yeah, the ATR was less than 100. Oh, actually, hold on. Let's turn on the date range. And oh, no, sorry, this is going all the way back to last month. So, oh, there we go. I can't need to make the break lines a little more visible. All right, there's a break line. Okay. So in any case, yeah, so this output here just shows simply that the daily ATR is greater than 100. There. So here's our threshold solver. There. So that's what we're looking at. Right. Right. And again, what I did is, right, the ATR is not a long or a short type of indicator, right? It's a volatility. So typically when you're using volatility, or if you're using any indicator that doesn't provide long or short bias, like volume, ATR, let's see what else. I think there's another one. Range, right? Yeah, range. And what else? Anyways, good enough for now, right? Volume, ATR, the typical ones, right? Those don't tell you market direction. So what that means is typically you want both of your conditions for long and short to be the same, right? So either you're looking for a value greater than 100, right, for both long and shorts, or you're looking for a value less than 100 for both long and shorts, right? Yeah. So just make sure when you're using ATR or volume that your conditions are both match each other. There. Yeah. There. All right. So hopefully that answered your question there, Leor. All right. And I did. Okay, great. Excellent. All right. Let's see where we are. Wow. Okay, we're past the 2.5 hour mark. Um, so, all right, I will hang out for another 5 minutes to see if there's any more questions here. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Tyrone has a Blackbird question. Flag issue again. Not showing, maybe. Um, let's see. The latest update there, Tyrone, fixed the flag problem. So, yeah, Tyrone, what, it's back again. What version of Ninja and what version of Shark are you using? Okay. So this update with Ninja. Well, I might have to roll back my NinjaTrader for tomorrow's workshop then. Okay. And I take it you're running the latest version of Shark indicators as well. So just to make sure. Um, all right. So on our home page here, if we go to support and then download installer right there in the middle, go to the download installer, and then scroll down. So right there is the latest version. Yeah, you are. Okay. Huh. I wonder. I seem to recall one of these fixes kind of hinted at messing around, yeah, with um, the location of the bar properties. No, all right. No, I was wrong on that. All right, yeah, I thought there was something in there that, um, yeah, I might have mentioned uh, changing the location of properties. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for letting me know there, Tyrone. Yeah. And yeah. Well, all right, gentlemen. So I'm out of questions again. So as mentioned earlier, I'll hang around for 5 minutes, at least 5 minutes, to see if there's any more Bloodhound questions. All right, and if I don't see any more Bloodhound questions, in the next 5 minutes, then I will assume we're done for the day. All right, so if you have more Bloodhound questions, keep them coming, and I'll keep answering them. And so while I'm waiting for the next question to come in here, I'm just going to mute my microphone again. All right, so yeah, so again, I'm just waiting for the next round of questions to come in here. All right, looks like Farouk is checking out for the rest of the day. All right, have a good one there, Farouk. All right, so once again, gentlemen, in case anybody stepped away, I'm just hanging out for a few more minutes to see if there's any more Bloodhound questions. And if I don't see any more questions coming in, then we'll wrap it up for today. All right, so if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A window there for me. All right, gentlemen. Well, it's been just over 5 minutes here, and I don't see any more questions coming in. And we're also approaching the 3 hour mark, which usually these workshops, when they reach 3 hours, that's usually when the questions tend to peter out. So, with that, gentlemen, I'm going to take that as my cue that we're probably done for today and wrap it up. All right. So just a reminder, if you want a copy of today's Bloodhound file to play around with, just email support, all right, and ask for today's Bloodhound file. And Mike will get that over to you later on today. And also, I know, yeah, we have some Blackbird questions queued up for tomorrow. So again, for those, I think there were two people for those couple of people that had Blackbird questions. If you can't make it tomorrow, then email them in to support, and I'll get them answered anyways. And then you'll have the recording to watch, right? Yeah. Or otherwise, I'll see you guys in tomorrow's Blackbird workshop. Right. So with that, guys, have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Let's see. Oh, hold on. Where do we find the link for tomorrow's? You have to sign up for it. So Zoom, these are all done by Zoom. So obviously, yeah, we don't have Zoom links. So to get the link emailed to you by Zoom, so you want to go to the training workshops page here. All right, so just go to our website and then go to support. And it's the second one down there on support menu. Right, and so from there, right, here's the workshops. So there's the link for Bloodhound, and Blackbird is a separate link because not everybody has Blackbird. So you only need to register for whatever workshop you want to join. So just register there and you'll get, Zoom is supposed to email the links out an hour before the workshop starts. All right, so yeah, 1 hour before the workshop. So also you can use that email to know if there's a workshop or not as well. So if you don't get if you registered and you don't get the email, then that means that workshop has been canceled, probably because of either a holiday, or sometimes these workshops get canceled due to a conflict with a sales webinar. Right. So in other words, no email, no workshop. That's how you know. So, right. Okay, so that should get you going there, Charles. Get you done. Yeah, good. So, all right, guys. It looks like that's it for today. So with that, I'll see you next time. All right.